There's an old clip of Hitchcock himself saying that Psycho was intended as a joke. Is that credible?
No, I don't think it's credible. But that's the beauty of Hitch, is that he was very much a practical joker. I think he knew very much what he was trying to do. The argument that I make in my film is that I think, the shower scene was his greatest trick, and that's something that he had worked towards for, his entire career. And so I think he was very well aware of what he was trying to do, what he was hoping to do, I think, with audiences. And the proof is in the pudding, as we say. The fact that he took 7 days to shoot that one sort of 2-minute scene, it tells you something. It tells you that I think he saw an opportunity to do something completely different, which, by the way, is quite remarkable, when you think about the fact that he was 61 years old at the time. Coming off of North by Northwest, he had absolutely nothing to prove as a filmmaker, and he's just pulling off his greatest stunt ever. So no, I don't think it was a joke. I think the joke was on the audience, for sure.
Psycho shower scene is cut very much like an action scene. George Thomasini was a master.
What he did with the shower scene changed the language of cinema. The editor suddenly became a much more important piece of the puzzle.
You had to think about a cut, because a cut was going to take you 4 minutes to make and splice and check it. And now you can make a cut every 12 seconds or something. The planning, the consideration, the thinking that went into designing some of these films is astonishing.
How soon was it after Psycho came out that it really began to enter the broader culture and to be essentially known by everybody?
When the movie came out in 1960, the impact was so huge. And so powerful that I think that's really when it entered the culture. It just barged into, the culture in a way that cinema was never the same, since. And it's obviously a very sort of questionable moment also in cinema, because it made murder an acceptable form of entertainment.
God, he has a way of reaching out and grabbing you by the throat and saying, look, look, you will look at this.
It was a perfect stainless steel trap. You could not run away from it. It was inflicting damage, but at the same time, you knew you were in the hands of a master. There was nothing to do but submit.
In recent years, the critical consensus seems to be that Vertigo is the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't agree, I guess, with that?
I do. No, and I've actually, believed that well before the consensus. I named one of my companies Cinema Vertige, which, about 12 years ago now, named it after that movie. For my money, it is really the greatest, sort of most perfect film ever made. It's a movie that, if you want to talk about a film that was revolutionary and groundbreaking, in terms of its narrative, in terms of its structure, I think Vertigo was probably 20, 30 years ahead of its time. And clearly the critics at the time just didn't get it. It was panned when it came out, which is so incredible to believe, today. So, I think if we're going to compare those movies, I would say I think Vertigo is a perfect movie. Psycho is not a perfect movie, but I think that's kind of the beauty of it too. I think a lot of people complain about, the scene at the end where you essentially you have the whole explanation about why Norman behaves the way that he does, and sure, that scene is probably not necessary. So, and quite frankly, the moment that the shower scene happens, the second half is nowhere near as powerful because you've essentially reached a high point. But that's the risk that Hitchcock had to take. He had decided that the climax of the film was essentially going to be about 40 minutes into it. So once you reach that climax, it's all sort of downhill from there. Yeah, there are great moments in Psycho afterwards, and it's still a very, very important second half. But for my money, it doesn't have the perfection that Vertigo has.